Hello there everybody, this is Krista and welcome back to the Krista Chronicles, and today we are here for the first of what I think will be a few. I'm thinking maybe at least two more of my wrap-up videos for the year. And I've got some ideas, of course obviously starting with this one. For this video, as you can tell by the title, I want to go through my top new release decks of the year. So this is my, I tried for 10. It ended up with 12. This is my top 6 Oracle and top 6 Tarots that came out in sometime in 2024, and these are my favorites of those. Why does this feel so hard to explain? This is my, I almost never like refilm. I still don't edit, but I almost never even like refilm. I just kind of let myself go. But this is my second time trying to like explain what it is I'm doing here, and I don't know why my brain's getting so confused around it. I think because I'm differentiating between, I've seen some videos already of people doing like their top like new to their collection decks, because that can mean, you know, I could have bought the, what's a good example? I could have bought the Everyday Witch Tarot this year, and so it would have been new to my collection in 2024, but it was not released in 2024. So these decks are specifically released in 2024, my favorites of that category. I think this is making sense to you watching. I don't know why it's like coming out of my mouth so weird. So anyway, as I said, I've got 6 Oracle decks and 6 Tarot decks. Where do I want to start? I think we should start with Oracle. I don't know. There's so many good decks here, and it just so happens that a lot of them, well, of course, since they were my favorites, I use them a ton. But I'm thinking of also doing a video on my top used decks of 2024, so that would just be the decks I use the most, doesn't matter when they came out sort of thing, doesn't matter when I bought them, just whatever I use the most. But there's actually a bit of crossover between these, so I don't know. Let me know if that's something you want to see, because I still think it'd be fun to do both. But anyway, let's just get right into it. And we're going to start with Oracle, because I have to start with a cringe choice, because I have to. Anyway, first new release favorite for me is my own Divine Ephemera Oracle. I know, lame, but I was also kind of going through and going by decks that I know I just used a lot this year and really enjoyed using, and it would be strange, I feel like, if I didn't enjoy using my own deck, because, well, not to say that's strange, I'm sure people have that experience, and, you know, every once in a while I have a moment where I'm like, ooh, I gotta put this down. Almost where it's like too much of my own energy for me, but regardless, I released this year and really have had such a good time using it all throughout the year. It is a Deity plant oracle. It is one that, it has a guidebook. It's a very small guidebook, one phrase sort of thing, very much on purpose, because I wanted it to be very open-ended, explorative. I just kind of thought, when it comes to such big energies as these gods and goddesses, and also all the different directions you can go with different plants, I just kind of thought it would be, I don't know if I want to use the word better, but I can't think of another word, so I'm going to use that. I thought it just might be of better use to let it be something that you can really make your own connection with, where it's like there is guidance there if you want it, but it's vague enough where even if you use that guidance every time, you're still going to build your own connection to it. Does that make sense? I don't know. But being able to get this and put it into practice myself, I was really at least pleased that that's how it ended up working for me, because that was my intention, and so watching that play out, even just with my own use, was really exciting. I spent so long collaging these images and like going in and like fine-tuning, like taking off some of the edges and making sure that the images were clear. This really was such a process and really challenged me in so many ways as someone who is not, you know, classically trained in any sort of art or even digital design. Nothing of the sort. This is just me making my own hobby out of it, truly. And I'm just really proud of it. And so this was definitely a top 2024 release for me. Now, bleh, we can stop doing that. Okay, that is the Divine Ephemera Oracle, which is available on Make Playing Cards. I've got all of my decks available to just get whenever you want on Make Playing Cards instead of doing those like limited releases. So yeah, that link will be down below. All right, and these are in no specific order. I could have gone through and put them in date order, but just I didn't want to, so I didn't. So anyway, next up. We've got the Cowgirls and Aliens Oracle, which this really, it surprises me to see this in here. Or no, I should say like me who bought this Oracle would have been so surprised to know that in a matter of months this would end up in like a top for the year. But it absolutely has, no questions asked. I freaking love this Oracle. I think it is, for starters, just so much fun. So as the title suggests, it is all Cowgirls and Aliens. And I can't even say that this is my usual style of artwork, of deck. When it comes to like sci-fi type things, I don't like sci-fi, to be completely honest. Or I should say it's not typically my favorite. As soon as things get into outer space, I don't know what it is, no interest. No interest for me. And I think it's because a lot of the time sci-fi leans futuristic, and I am someone who would much rather go towards like the vintage, let's get into the past type of thing, where, so like a lot of fantasy, it's easier to find like historical fantasy, which is my absolute favorite genre of anything. And so I didn't even really think I was gonna get this deck until I saw it on a, oh my gosh, what are those called? I love those videos. What are they called? It's the one, Lisa and Danny do it, where they go through all of the upcoming new releases for the month. And they showed this on there and went through some of the card images, and I was like, I need to try it. I need to at least try it. And obviously I did, and I absolutely fell in love with this Oracle. This is one that I love going to when I really want that, I don't know if girl power energy is quite the right term, but obviously it's a very feminine leaning, or it is a feminine deck, Cowgirls. It uses, you know, a lot of very feminine specific language. But girl power, it doesn't feel like the right word to use. It's a deck that feels very powerful and assuring. Assuring in a power-centric way, if that makes sense. This is a deck I like to go to if I am feeling maybe a little bit self-conscious or not confident in something I'm doing, confident about myself. This deck is perfect for that because it brings such power and self-assuredness to a reading. And I just love the bright colors, I really, really do. I don't feel like I'm not explaining this well, but everything about this deck, that we get the title, we get a, gosh, my brain is not working today. We get a affirmation, that's the word, affirmation on here. So it's one where it's like sometimes I will just use the cards, not even get into the guidebook, but then when you do get into the guidebook, there's so much good stuff there. It's just like such a good all-around solid deck. If you are looking for something for self-confidence, self-assurance, like powerful woman type deck. This has really landed there for me, and I have just loved it so much. So that is the Cowgirls and Aliens Oracle. This was new this year from Rockpool. All right, and next up is a new deck in terms of it being mass market. So maybe this is a little bit of a cheat, but where I fell in love with this deck was with this mass market version that I got this year, so I'm counting it. It's the Dirt Gems Oracle, which initially was indie many years ago, and recently came out from Running Press, who I think does such a fantastic job with their production quality, how they sort of like translate over indie decks to mass market. It's like you still really feel like you get that high quality at a mass market price, which, of course, I mean, don't we all love? At least a little. Anyway, so this is one I actually, many years ago, had the indie edition, and just, I think at the time it was a little bit like too soon in my tarot reading journey. I don't know, I wasn't really into plants then, so it didn't click for me, and so I ended up gifting it to someone. And so then years later it was coming out mass market, and I was like, I need to try that out again, since obviously I am a plant girly now. And it really felt like this reintroduction. It felt like getting to know this deck all over again, and I just completely fell head over heels this time around, and still, look at that. Oh, the art is so pretty. I just love this deck so much. This was probably ended up being really my top used oracle for the whole year. It just surprised me with how much it paired with, especially this like spring and summer during the height of gardening season. It's just everything I wanted to be connecting with. This deck brought it. The guidebook is so cool. It's broken up into different suits that just really makes a lot of sense, but isn't so integral to reading the cards that it gets confusing, you know, if you're also using it with tarot. It doesn't feel like you've got these two like battling systems by any means. Everything about this was so perfect. It's definitely one that I feel like I have to use the guidebook with. That's really where the magic is, since it's just got the name on the card. But I love it. I love it so much. It just felt really rich and impactful, and just really helped me build relationships with the plants I was growing if they were present in this deck. I don't know, it's got just this magical spiritualness to it that just makes sense to me. I love it. I love it. I love it. It pairs so well with so much that you wouldn't even think. It's the kind of deck where it's like every time I get something, a tarot deck in that I'm like, oh, I don't really know what to pair with it, I'm like, I should just try it with the Dirt Gems, because 9 times out of 10 it works, even if I don't think it will. So definitely a top release for this year. It's so beautiful. Again, this is from Running Press. It is the Dirt Gems Oracle. Alright, now this one really snuck its way in there because it only came out, I think, September? Can that be right? Or was it October? It was only a few months ago, and usually with these sorts of videos, I like there to be kind of a bit longer of me getting to know the deck, but this is one that is like I was watching for that release date on Amazon, ordered it immediately, and just like completely fell in love with as soon as it came in. And that is the Lost Oracle. This is another Rockpool release from this year. I swear, I just think Rockpool makes truly some of my favorite mass market oracles. Oh, what's happening with my cards? Interesting. Okay, let me know if this is happening to anyone else. Oh, awkward. Can you see? I've been getting these markings on my cards. You can kind of see it there. I think some of the ink on the backs, is it rubbing off? Oh, look at that one. I don't know if it's picking up on camera. Well, regardless. This one just really took me by storm in the sense of, like, as soon as I got it, I was like, this is all I want to use. I could put everything else down right now and I just want to focus on this and get to know this, and it did not disappoint. I love how this reads. I already knew. I loved the whole look of it. It just feels so my typical vibe that I just love, but oh my gosh, it's got that like spooky, witchy feeling. Like this could have been hidden in the cutest little like cottage in the woods where you know some kind of witch lives there. It just feels like it belongs in that kind of world. Truly, like the whole look of it I love, but I also again love how it reads. I love the setup of it because again we get that title and then we get the main message right at the bottom. So it's one of those where it's like you can get into the guidebook if you want to. You don't have to. The only thing I'm noticing is that you can see it again here on these lighter cards when it's sitting in the box. I think some of the ink is maybe rubbing off. Let me know if anybody else has this deck and has noticed that. Honestly, it's not something that bothers me. I think it even looks a little bit, like if I hadn't known what it looked like before, I feel like it could have been purposeful. Whatever. Interesting though. But yeah, I just love the whole theming around this. Everything about it. Oh my gosh, I've put this away during December because I wanted to focus on my Yule decks, but I've just been thinking about it and wanting to take it back out. I'm so excited because I'm like, January, she's coming back, and I feel like it's the perfect feel for January. But yeah, this is one that, even though I haven't had it super long or it's not been out long, it just delivered on all of the things I was hoping and wishing it would. It's beautiful and gorgeous, amazing. And that is the Lost Oracle. Next up is one that I received this year. I backed it on Kickstarter. It is the I'm Here Oracle by Murphy Pines. I'm not exactly sure on the availability of this deck. There was a lot of going on, I suppose you could say, in terms of like the actual production of this deck. It took a lot longer, I think, than some of us thought it would, which happens. Totally happens. And to me, I found it to be really entirely worth the wait. I think it's just such a nicely done, beautiful oracle. So this is really kind of like a self-care kind of deck to me. All of the cards have this title that feels like a suggestion of something you can do for self-care. And then on the bottom, you get a main message. So if you can see a theme going on here, apparently I really enjoy when decks do that. Even though I am someone who almost always goes to the guidebook, I still appreciate when you get a message right on the card. And I think this is the perfect deck to go to if you feel like you just really want some sort of energy to be held. Like if you feel like you really need to make space for something, it feels like this deck does that. Like somehow it's able to just hold space for the things that I'm feeling so well. I really enjoyed also the way it pairs with some other decks that I use for that purpose. Like I really liked using it. I have it, hold on, got it right next to me. With the Heart Align Oracle. It's got that kind of vibe. I liked pairing those two together. There was something else I can't think of right now. A tarot I liked pairing this with. I can't think of it. It'll come to me eventually, but yeah, it's just like a really soft, nice, holding space for really feeling the feelings kind of deck. And after getting this deck, I find that I really go to it quite often. There's just nothing else I feel like I have that does exactly the same thing. Oh my gosh, I know what it is. It's the Ghost Tarot. But what is that called? Oh my gosh, no, I see the box, I have to go find it. The Boo Tarot. I really like it with the Boo Tarot, which kind of has a similar vibe to me. But yeah, this has definitely been a standout from this year. I don't really know the technicalities, like when something is on Kickstarter of like, we all received it this year, so I think that's kind of what you go off of in terms of a deck being released, right? Yeah. So that is the I'm Here Oracle, and I'm gonna try to find a link to see if this is something you can get. I feel like I saw something at some point, but if there is, it'll be down below. All right, last but not least for the oracles, we have a Hare's Odyssey oracle. This is by Jackie and I think Philip Lovesey. This is the third, I want to say, maybe fourth oracle in the series all about Matlock the Hare. I have all of them because I love them so much. And it just amazes me that there can be this series of decks. To me, I say 3 because there's 3 of them that are in this, like, they almost look like they could be sold as like a boxed set because they're in like same box, different colors. And so there is the Secrets of Wanwood was first, the Magic Cottage, and then this year they came out with a Hare's Odyssey. And so each really takes on a different aspect of the story of Matlock the Hare, builds upon that story. And so in the Secrets of Wanwood, we get the story of the forest in which Matlock the Hare lives. The Magic Cottage, we get an insight directly into his home and how he creates magic there, welcomes other creatures there. And then with the Hare's Odyssey, it's this whole journey where Matlock realizes he needs to get out of his comfort zone, out of his home Wandwood forest, and go on this odyssey to see the rest of the world around him, or more of the world around him, and meet different people and discover more magic that way. And it's really cool to see how I really do use all 3 decks for such different reasons. Anyways, all that preamble aside, let's look at the cards. This is truly some of my favorite artwork. It's got such a cozy storybook feel. And the guidebook is written very much in a story-like way, which I really enjoy. You really are learning lessons directly from the story of Matlock the Hare and in this deck, his adventures. Visiting new parts of the world, meeting new kinds of people, and I really loved it. I find this deck is one I enjoy going to if I feel like I need to get a little bit out of my comfort zone, or if I know I am going to be pushed out of my comfort zone and I'm feeling anxiety around that. As someone who's very routined and really relies on their routines, if I know that something is going to cause me to be outside of that, I find this deck is really helpful in just easing the anxiety that comes with that and kind of being excited to look at it as a new adventure, just like Matlock the Hare is on his Odyssey. Oh, I love that card. It's a really good one when I know I'm going to be in new situations and I'm feeling nervous about it. It's such a good deck for that. So this one really, really stood out to me this year as well. And that's my last oracle I have. That is the Hare's Odyssey Oracle by Jackie and Phil Lovesey. Their name is not on here, but I'm pretty certain that's the names of the creators. And yeah, okay. Let's move on to the tarot. Okay, moving on to our top 6 tarot new releases from the year. Starting off strong. Well, no, all of these are strong, but anyway, when you see it, you'll understand. The Unfinished Business Tarot. This deck completely took so much of my year by storm. So unexpectedly so. I feel like MJ Quillenane is just a creator that I am always fascinated by their decks. But for whatever reason, up until this one, here's the back, so pretty. Up until this one, I never felt like I got along perfectly. Not that it needs to be perfect, but I never really felt like it clicked for me when it came to her decks. I still have quite, well, do I have quite a few? No, I think the only one other than this is the For Hoxa. Oh, and I have the Raven's Dream, which I like. But they were some of those decks where it's like I really didn't use them that often. I just kind of liked the art. Yeah, otherwise the connection I feel like felt hard to make, and yet every time she releases something new, for the most part, I always pre-order it to try out. Does anyone else have creators like that where it's like, it's not even necessarily that their decks like have a history of working amazingly for you, it's just like there's a fascination. So I pre-ordered this deck. Wasn't gonna have high expectations per se because of just how they tend to work for me, but this one totally took me by the best surprise of all time. I feel like I spent so much of the year not being able to shut up about this deck. And so it is a ghostly tarot, it calls itself. So every card has a ghost, a character that has their complete own backstory. There is this guidebook, which doesn't seem like, you know, it necessarily should have tons in it. It is a thicker one, but every single card, there is no space being used for images in this deck, because it is all completely the backstory of every card, every character, that it basically gives you the story of how they passed, and that story connects to the meaning of the card. And for whatever reason, it's just every single time the stories just really stick with me. And so every time I use this deck, I find myself thinking about the story, not even just for the day, for so long after. There are certain cards in here that if I've pulled them already, I remember exactly what the story was. I still go back and read it every time because I just like to, but I wouldn't even have to unless it was a card I haven't pulled before. They just really stick with you in that way, and which I think is really profound, and to me shows a lot when I can remember the story, especially since it's such an extensive story in there. That just shows me how impactful it is for me. So this really had such a moment for me this year. I love it so much. I did buy the larger size book you can get with it that gives you some more little background stories, or details I should say, for these characters. Do I think personally it was a necessary buy if you're someone who's interested in this? I think it's out of stock right now, but she tends to do kind of a series of pre-orders, so I'm going to put the link to it below, and I would recommend signing up for her newsletter. Anyways, so would I say I think that guidebook is a necessary buy? No, because you get the whole story already with the guidebook that comes with the deck. I chose to get it because I just love this deck so much. And I feel like when I love a deck that much, it's like I want every piece of it. So anyways, love this deck, everything about it. Also, how the production quality for the MJ Cullinane indie decks are just amazing. So that is the Unfinished Business, a Ghostly Tarot. Next, we've got the Magical Creatures Tarot, another one that is just not even a surprise. This is from the same creator as the Northern Animal Tarot, which is probably my favorite tarot of all time. And so this was very highly anticipated for me. It's been really cool to sort of see this creator really grow into, how do I want to say? Because the art quality has been so consistent. So it's not that, it's more so the deck production, like really grow into a deck production style. You know, like I feel like different creators tend to, once they find a cardstock and size and just way of presenting it that works, a lot of creators stick with that. And I feel like, oh my gosh, I know it's Linda, I can't remember their last name, if they even actually put it out there, but it's Wilder Hearts Studio. I know her name is Linda. Huge fan, obviously. But from that first edition of the Northern Animal to the second and the third, and then finally the third Linen, it was like getting to experience kind of coming into that production style with them. And so now this is on that same linen cardstock as the third linen edition of the Northern Animal Tarot, which I think it's truly perfection. It gets the vivid colors that are present in the original artworks on this beautiful, very shuffleable cardstock. It's a little bit of like a smaller size deck, so it just, everything about the use is magical. And it's truly just been so cool to see. So anyway, I was, of course, very excited for this to come out because, again, huge fan of the Northern Animal. And this is a deck all themed around magical creatures. And so to me, it feels like taking the Northern Animal Tarot, which is all like real woodland creatures. I mean, they're like kind of anthropomorphized. I don't know if I said that right. But regardless, they're animals that you can see in the real world. It feels like that, and it's like as if you're in that forest with them and you find a little like fairy door and step through it, and now you're in this world. Like, it feels like it's very much could be connected to Northern Animal. It's just like the fae world of it, which I think it's so much fun. It's so magical. I even love using the two decks together. My favorite feature of her decks is the extra cards you get with it. You get a lot of extra oracle cards, especially with this deck, and I choose to leave them in because I think they are so much fun. I think they are especially so much fun in this deck. I love how the suits are all given a specific kind of magical creature. So you've got the pentacles with these gnomes. Everything about this deck I think is so wonderful and amazing. I have nothing bad to say. Obviously, I don't have anything bad to say about really any of these decks because they're favorites from the year, but this really was such a highlight. So highly anticipated for me since the creator started teasing it, which was quite a while ago. I'm just such a super fan of everything they do. I'm hoping maybe someday, I don't know, they'll do an oracle. I think that would be super cool. Oh, look at this world card. So good. I need to find where I put the stickers. I think this deck, I don't know if it was this deck or the latest version of the Northern Animal that came with a sticker of this, oh, where is it? Of this world card. I don't know if I already stuck it somewhere or what. I should find that though. It's just, I could look at these all day long. these decks, they just tick every single box for me. I love it so much. So this is the Magical Creatures Tarot. Did I show the backs? So cute. So cute. And also, too, it comes with a really nice in-box guidebook. Oh, this is so much fun. I feel like, for whatever reason, or something I discovered while kind of trying to figure out my most used decks from the year and my favorite like new releases, is that oftentimes I switch around the oracle a lot, but will stick to the same tarots. Because I feel like with this tarot section, this is going to be way less surprising than, or like obvious probably if you've been watching my videos throughout the year. It's like you're going to know what I'm going to pick for the tarot, but the oracle, I feel like I had to kind of dig a little bit more to be like, okay, what did I really like? Maybe it's not even necessarily what I was using a lot, just like what felt the most impactful, because I really switch around my oracles, but not as much the tarots, which is interesting. Anyway, because I feel like I'm starting all of these off by saying like, this is literally no surprise, but this one really isn't. If you were watching my videos this summer, you will know. Spring and summer, actually. I had the most insane moment for months with this deck. I truly couldn't put it away. I was using it every day, and still I love it so much. It is the Bee Tarot, which was really an unexpected love for me. I almost didn't get this deck. I don't know. Crazy. Here's the backs. This is from Llewellyn. This came out, might have been like April or so, sometime in the early spring. And I almost didn't, like I said, didn't get this deck. Because for whatever reason, I was having this feeling of like, I don't think I need a bee-specific deck, which is so crazy to even think now. It's like, as I get further into my gardening journey, it's like, I feel like every year I add a layer of something else I just like so deeply appreciate. 2023 was the year of the rose, and this year as well, but like I really was having a moment with roses in 2023, which again still am, but the new addition for 2024 was the bee. And I definitely think a lot of it was due to this deck and just how good it is. I need to find the info on like who's involved in this, because I'm horrible with the names. Okay, so the art is done by Nadia Turner, who I really, really love their artwork. And the guidebook is written by Christopher Hughes. The guidebook is amazing. Like, I love the artwork in here, but the guidebook is also so incredible. It just really adds to the whole experience of it. Look at this snapdragon. Ugh. I just don't even know how to explain how I felt about this deck. Again, it really caught me by surprise. I didn't have high expectations for my own connections to it, and I think it's because I previously had gotten some like gardening themed decks, or like decks I connected to the garden that just like didn't really wow me for reasons. It's like where I really thought they were going to, and they just kind of didn't. And so then to get this and not really be thinking anything of it, and then just to have it completely take me by storm like that, because I think I had this in my monthly favorites for, it was like May, June, July, maybe even August. Like, I just used it all spring and summer long. I couldn't put it down. It just, even looking at it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I miss it. And some of the cards are wintry. It really is one of those decks that takes every season into account. But I used this a ton paired with the Seasons of the Witch Beltane. It really brought that deck to life for me. I don't know, I love, like, oh, there it is. There's that wintry card. Like, I could use this now. that could be interesting to kind of work with that bee theme. I don't know. I hardly even know what to say because I feel like I just have sung the praises of this deck so much. It just is so good. It's so good. It really, I think the thing too, it's like a lot of the flowers that were brought up in this deck were ones I was growing. Like I have this almost exact plant in my garden. It's so pretty. This is making me truly think too, like, should I raise bees? Maybe. Like, look at that. Everything about this deck to me is perfect and amazing. I really think that's all I have to say. Sometimes I'm like, I can't even put it into words just why it was so good to me. A lot of it too, the guidebook is so awesome. I really, really love the writing in the guidebook. But yeah, I just think it's a fantastic theme. I could not imagine, like, truly life without it now. I love the bag I made for it. This, like, warm yellow color with the bees. So cute. So, yeah, totally had to have a spot in here. That is the Bee Tarot. New this year from Llewellyn. Okay. Next up is the Heartwood Tarot. This is one, actually the next two are ones that I was very extremely lucky enough to get review copies of. So even though like we kind of, with this one and the next one, maybe only got the full official copy towards the end of the year, I was able to spend some extra time with it, so it kind of felt like, I don't know. Does that make, I mean, of course that makes sense. Anyways, that's my little weird explanation there. But this is one that as soon as I got that review copy in, this is the latest one from Three Trees Tarot. Again, it was like I got it and couldn't put it down. I truly think this deck might have been the only reason that I put down the Bee Tarot a little bit. I love the Three Trees Tarot decks. I love how, like, the writing for the guidebooks is done. I love the kind of ideas behind the card. I like how then Adam Ohlers translates that idea to this just gorgeous artwork. I have them all now. I love them so much. But I find for whatever reason they aren't decks I go to use a ton. I don't really know why. But this is the first one I got that I think I just so instantly connected to it. I also think for whatever reason it's the borderlessness of it a little bit. I don't know why, because I'm not really one to dislike borders, but I think I'm someone who, like, I really like a border on my oracle and then not always a border on the tarot. I don't know. That's just sometimes how my brain works, but I also think it has a lot to do with the subject matter of this deck. This deck brings you into this world where it's like we find this magical, seemingly abandoned cottage, and it is abandoned by the human race, but the animals of the forest have completely taken it over and are living there now in many different ways. And we follow the journey of this little mouse, and he's exploring the world of this cottage, and I don't know, just something about that felt like it really resonated, and I just connected with it so easily. I don't know. Because it's not like I have experience being in an abandoned cottage, you know? It's just one, there's such a coziness to it, but I think I like, there's a little bit of this like melancholy feeling almost that I really enjoy. But then we get these cute little creatures like we see in, oh my gosh. Oak, Ash, and Thorn. Oak, Ash, and Thorn. There we go. I just love it so much. Truly. Like, I've hardly put this deck down. I had quite a few months where I used it constantly, and it's still one. Again, this month is kind of my exception because I'm using all my Yule decks and like, I tend to like have a bit of a cutoff for my yearly favorites at October because that's when I start to use like very holiday specific decks. Like I was using my Halloween decks and then had a break in November and then went into my Yule decks. So anyways, but up until then, this was such a star of the show. I loved how it paired truly with everything. I really liked using it with my Cottage Witch Oracle. I loved it with the Green Witch Oracle. There was other stuff that I'm just... Oh, the Magical Botanical Oracle. It really goes with a lot. Oh, this had a moment for me for sure with the Memento Mori Oracle. That was a cool pairing. I just think it's so beautifully done. And it's one of those things that as they keep putting out decks, you're like, how could it possibly get better than the last one? And they just continue to outperform themselves. Because I really think this is probably my most used Three Trees Tarot deck, closely followed by the Oracle I am blanking on the name of, but I love that one as well. Like, I love all of them. But it's just so interesting to see that it's like, as they progress, it's like, how do you keep making it better and better when the original product is so good? But they continue to do so. I'm super excited for the spider tarot they've teased. I think that's going to be a really, really cool theme. So yeah, huge favorite from this year. That is the Heartwood Tarot. I love too this box design, this warm orange color, so good. Alright, now the next deck that I was making a reference to in terms of ones that I was able to spend some extra time with because I had a review copy, it is the Unicorn's Journey Tarot, which we got these final versions of in October, which came out so beautiful. This is the tarot put out by our very own Lisa Papez, and just so incredible, truly so incredible. As soon as I got, again, that review copy, I could hardly put it down. Like, this selection of decks were the ones that it's like, they just really occupied all of my year. Where, again, like with Oracle, I kind of really mixed it around, but I didn't realize how much I base around... I guess I thought I was very Oracle deck driven, if that makes sense, but it turns out no, it's really based around the tarot I want to use. Anyways, so this was such a joy to get to review and get to know this year, and just the way it feels like such a piece of Lisa that we are all able to take part in and discover things about ourselves through. It's so magical, and it's one of those decks that if you are a watcher of Lisa's videos and have been able to kind of like get to just know her a little bit through there, it's so apparent the authenticity that went into this deck, because it really just feels like you're having a conversation with her or watching one of her videos when you're going through this deck, and you can tell how much this, like, every card means to her, if that makes sense. And something about that, it's just so cool to get to use a tool like that, where you can tell so much care and attention to detail. Not to say that other people don't do that, but there's such a personal tie with this one, and it really shines through in the best way possible. And I just think everything about this deck was done so incredibly well. Of course, I love the theme because unicorns. I am a unicorn lover. I love the other magical creatures that come through in this deck. I love how it follows a storyline in such a way where when you read through the guidebook, it just makes sense as this very chronological story. But when you're pulling single cards, it's not jarring to feel like, you don't feel like you're jumping around in the story. It just feels like when you're using this deck, you're just consistently part of the story and immersed in the story, so it doesn't feel like jumping around, it just feels like, I don't know, naturally being back at that part. I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but I just think it's so cool. And it feels also just like a project where Lisa was able to put in so many of her other projects thus far into it, because we get, with every single card, there is a self-worth message after the card interpretation, which, as I've talked about, is really where this deck shines for me in terms of, I don't know, just how I like to use it. I tend to go to this deck when I just, honestly, like when I feel like I need that self-worth message. I use this all the time, and that's when I open up the guidebook, that's instantly where my eye goes. It's like, I want that self-worth message, because I think that's what really makes this deck stand out so starkly from anything else I have. Aside from, like, I don't have another unicorn deck. I think the way Lisa interprets a lot of the cards is really, like, just cool and interesting. Besides that, I don't have any other deck that quite gives that self-worth message in the way that Lisa does. And this has just been the best tool since I've gotten it. Again, I use it constantly to get that self-worth message. I love it so much. I like using this a lot with the I'm Here Oracle as well, that I showed earlier. So, loved this deck this year. It is the Unicorn's Journey Tarot. And now, we're up to the last one, which is crazy. I am needing to jog my memory, though, on the name of this person's Etsy shop, because I know their name, but sometimes I'm bad with usernames. No, I got it. It came into my brain. Okay, so last but not least, I've got the Tarot of the Huntress, again by one of our very own tarot tubers, Kara Small. On YouTube is Forest Moon Maiden still, I believe, but their Etsy shop is Chthonic Forest. I'll have the link below. So this is a found art deck dedicated to Artemis. So this is the second deck made by Kara. I did have the first, Tarot of Persephone's Garden, which is also so fantastic. I love that deck so much. I have the Chthonic version now, which tends to be the one I use if I want to get into Persephone energy, but I just really honestly love the goddess Artemis. I feel like she is a figure that I just like to work with a lot, so when I saw that she was coming out with an Artemis specific deck, I was like, yes, give me that. Heck yeah, especially since she did such like an instantly good job with the Tarot of Persephone's Garden. That deck is so impressive and so amazing. And so I was honestly on like anything that she's gonna put out, I'm gonna want. And I just, the only reason it was hard to choose between one and the other. I could have honestly put them both in here, but I just went off of which is the one that I really used the most this year, and it was just this one truly just because of the subject matter. But I think Hare does a fantastic job of pairing artwork with card meanings and really finding a way to tell a story through her selections, which is really quite the feat, because like finding artwork and then being able to make it cohesive, or like artwork from different artists and then making it cohesive in this way, not easy. But she nails it every time. And I just think the whole lore of the goddess Artemis really comes through in this deck. It really, for me, made such a connection. And again, I just think it's beautiful. It's on a beautiful linen cardstock. I love this deep green she picked and these deep green backgrounds. There's a new version out now that I think the backs are different, but still beautiful. Yeah, I just really like it. These were the first decks that Hare put out, and again, like, she came right out the gate with what I feel is perfection. I think she just did such a great job. Oh, it's so pretty. I love these decks so, so much. So, that is my last top new release from 2024, and that is the Tarot of the Huntress. I am sure there are actually, I know there are so many more I could have put in here. It just was a factor of what did I really also spend some time with. It was really hard to make these choices, obviously, since I went in going for 10 and have ended up with 12. But anyways, I'd love to hear what your favorite new releases were from the year. Again, I think I'm going to do a top used decks, like decks generally that I just used a lot this year, not mattering when they came out or when I even purchased them. Let me know if that's of interest, because there's probably going to be crossover, so I don't know. Let me know. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. So I hope you're having a wonderful day so far, and I'll see you again very soon.